Ready?
I am, yes.
Okay, welcome to the Woburn Traffic Commission meeting on Thursday, February 15th at 4 PM. I'll call this meeting to order. I'd like to remind everyone in the room that this meeting is being broadcast and that if you could please silence your mobile devices. One clerical note I just want to make people aware of is there's a town hall coming in at 6 o'clock, and they need some time for setup, so we're going to have to make sure, we want to make sure we address the issues, but we want to make sure there's not repetitive discussion on certain topics so that we move it along, so we have enough time and for setup for that. Could we have a motion to accept the
I
meeting
have to do the roll
minutes?
call first?
Excuse me?
I have to do the roll call of the membership first.
Oh, I'm sorry, please, roll call.
Thank you. Commissioner Cassidy?
Here.
Commissioner Corey?
Here.
Commissioner DeMambro? Absent. Commissioner Duran?
Yep.
Commissioner Jolly?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Sakarellis?
Present.
Commissioner Stokes?
Here.
Chair Papalato?
Present. Okay, could we have a motion to accept the meeting minutes from last meeting on January 18th?
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion's passed. So
First,
today's,
do you want me to read the, sorry, traditionally, Chair, I have read the item agenda. I was not here at the first meeting. And then we go from there. Is that how you would like to handle it going forward?
I'm sorry, but I didn't hear what you said.
So traditionally, I read the agenda item.
Okay, go ahead.
And
That's,
take it over. Is that all right? Do you want to
that's,
keep going?
I'm totally fine with that. Go for
Perfect.
it.
First item on the agenda, we have under old business is a request for no parking sign on Perry Place at the intersection with Elm Street. I was told there might have been some confusion if this was supposed to be placed on file, but the motion was to lay it on the table, so it's still on the,
I think the intent was to place it on file. That's my understanding.
so you could do that today.
So what my notes say on this one is that the motion was made in second last meeting to communicate with the petitioner, explaining there is nothing the city can do because it is a private property, and to table the matter, and it was approved.
Yeah, yes, to table the matter means it will stay on the agenda. If you would like to place it, I think, from what I heard, I think you guys want to place it on file.
I do too, and I would move that.
Okay, can we have a motion?
Motion to place the matter on,
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
Next item on the agenda we have under old business is a request for handicap parking space across from 70 Warren Avenue. I just want to let the commission know, I did speak with the petitioner before the meeting. She could not make it because she did have some pain today and could not make it in.
Yes.
were we also going to ask a representative of the housing authority to attend this meeting? Kind of explain what the story was with the parking situation, supply and demand? I don't know if they were invited, but I think that's what we asked.
That was the follow-up
I
from the
see
last
someone's
meeting.
hand up.
That's my record.
There may be someone here. Yes, Ah. Could we hear from him? Sure. That'd be great. If you would.
Please
come and
approach
identify-
and state your name and address, please.
Hi, I am David Keating from the Woburn Housing Authority, and I was asked to come here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So I think we were a little bit concerned about, the request was a reasonable one, except that it was to reserve some space on a street, and more than one, for a handicap spot in a location that was of concern to us, at least because of the grade, and perhaps for other reasons. So I guess,
Commissioner, the two things were the individual who wanted the handicap space would have to cross the street to get to the space, the grade of the roadway, and the fact that in the winter, you can only park there half the time. We looked at your parcel and we saw that there were no handicap facilities there and believe that you have to follow the same rules as everybody else. When we do municipal parking lot, we do 2 per 60, and we were wondering, again, your facility dates back to pre-ADA requirements, but is there anything that you've looked at to address this?
We have, we're limited parking. We have 17 spots for 40 residents. As you enter off of Warren Ave, there is an entrance to the courtyard, we call it. There are 7 up the hill, 7 down the hill. Technically, all of our residents that park there are handicapped. They're just not marked handicap parking. We could mark them if you desire to us. It's limited. There are more than 14 people that live there that need to park. So what we tell them is there's a wait list, and in the meantime, you need to park on the street. That's all we can do. The courtyard is not for parking. It's for dropping off family members, dropping off groceries. You cannot park there. We need that open for the police and fire. So nobody's allowed to park in there. So we don't have any more space. So if we need to make some changes to the parking that we have, we'll do whatever needs to be done. But everything that's there now is spoken for, and the wait list is, there's probably a half dozen people on the wait list, and there hasn't been any turnover on that list for at least 4 years now.
Through the chair, have you spoken with either the building commissioner in terms of what you should be doing for ADA compliance, or better still, maybe the handicap commission?
Yeah, actually,
Recommendations?
Timmy Donovan reached out to me yesterday
Good.
with some recommendations, so, yeah, whatever we need to do, we'll comply.
If I may, but I'll leave it up to Commissioner Cassidy, I think that we see a need, and the need should really come from the owner of the facility as opposed to us giving recommendations. That's just my personal preference, but I'll let others speak to it.
No, I was gonna, I wasn't gonna address that. I was gonna ask a question, so.
I mean, we can certainly, spots, say, 7 and 8, or they straddle the walkway, the driveway going into the courtyard, we can make those handicap, because there's plenty of room for a wheelchair if they had to come and go.
But those spaces you said are already assigned to other people?
Oh, yeah,
Another tenant.
yeah, the 14 spots have been assigned, they're always assigned.
And
And
if I'm not saying they would, but if we did create a parking space on the street that was handicapped, that cannot be assigned to any one individual, correct? It would be a handicap spot that would be available for anybody who might be qualified to use it, correct?
That's correct.
Yep. And like I said, technically, all of our residents are handicapped. You know, they could all have a placard if they so desired.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Keating. That's very helpful, because we had no idea. Like in my mind, at least, this is a private matter, and putting a handicap parking space on a steep hill across the street is crazy.
Yeah.
And I do think that's where we came to last meeting, that wouldn't be an option to add that on the street.
Right.
Question was, what can the housing authority do to address this?
Yep. And we have spoken to the woman that has called in, and we are trying to come to a resolution to maybe move her, and she seems open to that.
Oh, to another facility that may
Yeah.
have parking?
Yep. Yeah, she was happy to hear about that.
Yeah. So what is the will of this board here?
Do we file this as well? Or make a motion, we file?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
It's approved.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is under new business, is the request for no parking sign at end of Highland Avenue. I believe the petitioner is here.
Would you please come up to the microphone and state your name and address, please?
Hello, my name is Nick Moisakis, 6 Highland Avenue. The
Okay.
address.
You can go ahead and,
As we say, the problem has been the way the street has been designed. I'm seeking a resolution in the issue that I'm having with vehicles being parked at the end of my street, because it's very difficult to get out of the driveway, to get into my driveway, for snow removal, etc., that the city takes care of. Right now, even from the other day, when the salt was thrown down, salt stopped at the beginning of the hill, going up to my driveway. They couldn't take care of that. They couldn't continue the job. If there's any emergencies on the house that a fire truck or an ambulance, something like that would have to go to, it's impossible for them to get to my house. Mr. Papalato, you saw the parking problem and how it is there. I believe that the city is taking care of plowing all the way to the end of the street. They repaved the whole entire street. They should be, let's say, taking over and taking charge of what the problem is, why they're not doing it. I mean, it's a complete street to the end, and it stops at one end on a map, just before the turn of the road. I got the pictures I can show, which is much better, but
Um,
Are you planning to project something?
no.
I believe there were pictures in your packet as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was hoping that he could pull up the GIS again.
Oh, because of death. Little internet access design.
So, full disclosure, I am the counselor in your ward. He asked me to come up and take a look and try to help him out. I've contacted a few of you people to kind of get your point on this. I know you've talked to probably everyone in this room at one point or another, some probably multiple times. So I did see what was there, but I suggested that he come to this meeting to kind of get the experts and maybe hopefully come up with some potential solution for you.
Yes.
So.
So am I right that none of, how much, if any, of Highland Ave right now is an accepted city street?
None
I
of
know
it.
that's a layer on GIS.
In that section, none of it is.
None of that section of Highland. Okay.
It's unaccepted up until around number 8 or so, then it's not even
Yes,
listed as anything.
if I'm correct, the beginning of the driveway of number 8 is where it stops. But,
That's the problem.
So to there.
I mean, Highland Ave
you-
was paved, it is.
Can you just wait one moment? The chair needs to recognize you to speak. I know it's a little
Sorry.
informal here, but
Yes.
I just want to make sure that the sergeant was done
Yes,
speaking
I'm
before you
sorry.
spoke.
Yeah, so I was just explaining that I was up there as well, addressing the situation. Had a conversation with one of the persons that's involved in parking up there, and jurisdictionally, we have some issues, with the police department. That's why I had suggested they speak with the engineer, and as far as trying to figure out who actually owns the property, if it's city-owned or private. The way it's laid out, looks like a lot of that is privately owned. It's got some strange plot lines. But
If I could. Matt, would you go back to the prior? There you go. Essentially, it's an unaccepted street, cut out by subdivision control. All of the pavement that you see within the right-of-way is in fact a street. It looks like a driveway going up to his house. It was originally installed to be a driveway, but because it's in the unaccepted right-of-way, it becomes a street. So his driveway begins at the property line. Similarly, the adjoining home has all sorts of parking in front of it, which is outside the right-of-way, which is private parking. So I believe his proposal, there we go, is to somewhere around where the driveway crosses the right-of-way line, to erect a sign that says private driveway.
Not private driveway, just as is the end of the driveway to my house, to be no parking. Because right now with the vehicles that are parked there, when the snow gets plowed, so you can see the vehicle that's in the picture there. The snow should be should be plowed into that end, but they end up plowing it more over to the right to block off my driveway. I say no parking at the end of the street whatsoever. The street is very narrow to pull out of, so going into the house, I have to drive in nose first, and then to back out of the street with it narrow, with snow, and as I said the other day, they didn't even ice the street all the way to that end. If we did have all that much snow that we were expecting, I wasn't going anywhere.
So when he was here last, his request was to put up a sign that said no parking. And that's when we discovered that we can't erect signs from the city on a street that's not a city street. So that's why there's been now a new petition saying, okay, will the city accept at least that little portion of the roadway as a public way so the city can install signage
Correct.
that says no parking? Am I right?
Yes.
That's the proposal now.
I was not aware that we can't erect signs on unaccepted streets.
That was the contention at the meeting.
Okay, wait.
If that's
I think
not
we've done it in the
true-
past, but
If that's
I'll
not
defer.
true, that is a big difference, because if the city can do that, then obviously there's no need to go through a request to the city council to accept a portion of the way as a public way. There's no, typically there is, when a city does accept a street or a portion thereof, there's a street acceptance plan that's prepared and a legal description of the portion of the way that would be accepted by the city. And that typically, in our practice, is by the developer, which we don't have. I'm not suggesting that you should be required to do it, but if the city was to be asked to accept the road, right now, there is no plan, there is no legal description to describe which portion would be accepted as a public way. And I guess the follow-up question, and I hate to bring this up, but I noticed it as I was doing my research. Matt, I wondered if you could trace the property lines of number 8 Highland Ave with your cursor. If you watch him when he, all right, that maybe is good. He's gonna I want him to trace the frontage there, right? As you see, he's gonna follow it up, it's a curved line, and that's, again, the property line at number 8, and then it stops there, and then he'll come back down that line to show you the sideline. When I look at that GIS, it looks to me like your driveway may actually encroach on the property at number 8.
To say yes, my house was built in 85 to 86, and that property wasn't even purchased until 94. Whoever originally owned it had, I'm not the best with that kind of stuff. They signed for my property my driveway to be going out that way.
So they gave you permission,
Yes.
the owner of number 8, the previous owner of
Not
number 8?
Well, there was no number 8 there. Number 8, I believe, was built in 1994. So my house was built in the 80s.
And who gave permission for your driveway to cross over number 8?
Somehow it was accepted. I do have all the correctly stamped papers from the engineering, I believe it is.
Do you have those so we could look at?
What I'm fearful of is there was a variance granted for this property, I don't know, 70s or 80s. And my understanding, the plan that I saw, had his lot having 20 feet of frontage on Highland Ave. But when I look at GIS, I don't see what I saw on that paper. So that's why it would be interesting to see what you've got. Would we have to make a motion?
Just hold on one second, yeah. I will grab that from you.
it would appear that the property
But can you-
meets Highland Ave at
Do you need a motion to accept the
Can I
documentation?
just have a moment, so I can, yes, you can either accept it or look at it, but yes. Can they keep that, or do you need that back?
If we can make a copy of it, it would be best.
I can do that after the meeting.
Not a
Okay.
problem.
So, yes, I would need a motion to accept.
Motion to accept the offered information from the applicant?
Second.
And then if you could just hold on so I can grab it.
So again, this was the only correctly stamped one from that department. And these are all the previous ones that were never stamped. I mean, this is for the road when it was supposed to be a complete road.
Big mess.
I'm gonna defer to you, enjoy the review.
I do not have those, but,
Sign up and enforce it, trust me, 'cause
no, no.
solve all the problems, but.
I'm all set.
It's
sorry.
mainly,
Thank
it's
you.
a safety concern with my home and anything that can happen there with the parking. With an emergency truck, a fire truck, an ambulance, there's no way they can get into my house with the parking blocking my driveway, to say.
Just a point of information, the traffic code, a sign for no parking would have to go into the traffic code, and you can only put that on legally public street, you can only put it on the public ways.
So there you are, that's why, according to the traffic code.
I think it's just law, I don't know what exactly it is, but we're not supposed to be putting up signs on private property.
Yeah.
That's why I believe the city of Woburn should accept the road all the way to the end.
Through the chair, is that a decision we can make as a traffic commission?
Are you asking me, the clerk?
Yes.
No.
It is
You can make
something
you can make a recommendation to the appropriate board.
that city council can do it at the request of 10 taxpayers on a petition. With the
A council
correct
could do it.
information furnished according to Title 12 of the municipal code.
It's about 20 yards distance from where the street is currently ended to the real end of the street. So,
Won't be able to make heads or tails out of that, so.
Sure.
You see it?
I already got this. It looks like a good number of the folks have seen these diagrams here.
I actually have.
You have not?
No, well, I just saw them.
Okay. Do you have questions on the diagram?
I have a recommendation, but I just want to make sure is everybody good with it?
Yep.
Like, I don't see, without an existing condition survey, and right now, it doesn't appear, unless I missed it, that you have an access across your neighbor's property.
again, when, I don't know which way to explain it,
If I may,
Yes.
only because he's been in my office, I don't know, 15 times?
several times,
Yeah.
yes.
My understanding, Jay, is that his house was constructed before the subdivision of the lots. So what used to be frontage on Highland, when it was one lot, when they built the driveway, everything was fine. Then they cut out the second lot, which in my mind totally eliminated his frontage. Don't know how it happened, and that's what you see today.
But I don't see the responsibility of this board, this commission, as even beginning the conversation here. Like, I see that you could petition the planning board to possibly take the road, but that's gonna be a tough sell, I would think.
Well, the planning board really couldn't, only the city council could accept that road as a public way. And the likely reason why it's not is that it may have been an old subdivision that was never finished. The layout of Highland Ave does loop around, and
Correct.
it isn't all the way completed. I don't know the history of why it's not finished and why it was never accepted. But it would be up to the city council to do that. I don't think the planning board could do anything in that regard.
In either case, an existing conditions survey, up to date by a professional land surveyor.
My house was
needs
surveyed.
to be
I'm
prepared
sorry.
For the roadway acceptance
for
question.
any kind of consideration going forward.
Right.
Okay.
And I think we've talked about that, and that's the advice I
Yeah,
got from
so
this
my house
board
was
about.
surveyed in '21 when I remortgaged. They took the land, the strip, like they measured the street, like the length of my property. The owner of number 8 has had it surveyed as well with the line going directly in front of my driveway. So we know where the property lines are ending, from my property and the owner of number 8. The street is still the problem, which, again, I believe the city's plowing way past their marking. Why can't they take care of that? If somebody's parked in front of my driveway, it is very difficult to get in because the street rises, goes uphill. So to back in, back out on an icy day, again, since there was no salt thrown out the other day, because there's a vehicle parked there, which way can we go? I pay my taxes here. I believe I'm a pretty simple tenant of Woburn. But,
So is your request that the city take over that land?
yes,
So what's the mechanism that we need to direct him to allow this to happen?
This isn't the proper board. You guys don't have jurisdiction over that.
Is there any recommendation role that the traffic commission could play? I don't know that it has ever.
You could, I don't think, you don't have that role, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But I don't,
We're not the body that makes the decision,
no.
by any means.
It's usually a process that starts with city council, and legal's highly involved because things have to get recorded in the registry of deeds.
Right.
Plans have to be accurate.
Right, it has to be an on-ground existing condition survey as a starting point. And no matter.
So
what the
wherever
me-
he's
no matter
going with
what the
this, you're gonna
mechanism,
need a survey.
It all starts with an existing conditions on-ground survey. That's where it starts, in my opinion.
Is there any disagreement with that?
And would that Plan J be submitted along with a request for city acceptance directly to the city council?
Quite honestly, I'm not sure. That's probably a question maybe for the city solicitor, maybe, or for proper direction. But without that existing condition survey, including plan and profile, I don't think anybody can answer that question, except
There's a
we can
proc-
direct them as a private matter.
There's a procedure in the, I believe municipal code, could be zoning code, I'm a little rough,
I think it's
I'm still getting back into the swing of things here, but there is a process of how to accept a street that the city council must follow. They currently been debating our Tower Park Drive, so you have to go through the procedure, certain procedures of how to accept a road street.
Right on.
You'd have to bring this, right, try to bring the street up to city
Existing city conditions usually.
conditions, exactly. But that would be on the onus of the applicant. And I'm not sure he's, yeah.
Through the chair, if I may, Commissioner Duran, do you have any, you can't possibly know what, you know that we plow a street, you have no idea to what extent. Do you have any idea how much of the end of that street we plow?
It's plowed to the, well, it should be plowed to the end the way the truck is going, but because there's the vehicles parked there, they move over to the right and plow the snow into the end of my driveway.
But if there isn't a
That
vehicle,
doesn't, physically on this picture, do they plow all the way
Yes.
up to where it bends into your property?
Correct.
They do,
So
okay.
where that vehicle is, where the arrow is right now, that's
Yep.
where the snow is. My first few years there, that's where it was being plowed to because there wasn't vehicles parked on the street as it is now.
Okay, so that makes sense. So they clear the property within the right-of-way.
Correct.
Everything on your property is your responsibility.
Correct,
That
yes.
makes sense.
The-
So we always have somebody at the end where they are now parking?
Correct. The owner of number 8 has several tenants in his house and they have 3, there's one, that white SUV is the owner's, and then there's 3 pickup trucks of his, which are his tenants, that are parked there,
And they park along that,
along the side of the road, which blocks my driveway.
no, see where they have the pavement off of the roadway? Do people park there?
So that curve is the owner of number 8's driveway, where he can fit 5 vehicles. But his vehicles, his tenants, to say, park on the street. And that's where it gets a little aggravating, because your tenants, that's your property, you have room for these vehicles, but they're parking there. Excuse me. I believe you had said something in November's meeting that you wanted to continue, that you knew more about it?
I don't recall what you're talking about, but
No,
Can you
sorry,
refresh
because I
my
read
memory on it,
I was watching the videos, and I think you knew something about this.
I don't recall, I don't know what you're referencing. I mean, I
No,
may have
not a
said something about the street or something, but I'm not sure what you're referencing. Like I said, I mean, it's my understanding I did go up there and ultimately spoke with the owner of number 8, asked him not to park up there to, which would be the neighborly thing to do.
Correct.
Where
It's very narrow, so now we see the end of my driveway, there's that one vehicle there, but then there's usually 2 vehicles parked on the end and then one behind the other, which makes it very, very difficult. And he holds, again, 5 vehicles in his driveway if you put him there.
The problem on the police department's end is legally being able to enforce no parking up there because it's not a legal street. So that's where our hands are tied.
Yes, yes, I mean, that's why I'm here, to make it a legal street.
So nobody owns that piece of property at all, it's just
Somebody does.
part of
there?
the right-of-way.
It was explained to me, if I could, somewhere along the way, but I might have been the clerk's office, but see the stretch that goes into the woods there, that's a continuation of the street there. That actually is a paper road or a continuation of the
Okay,
unaccepted
okay.
street, goes all the way through.
Got it.
They believe that possibly when the initial subdivision went in, the owner owned whoever owned it initially is the true owner of that property, but they don't know who it is.
Yeah, that would make sense if it were all one subdivision and they sold all the parcels. The right-of-way remains with the original owner, if it was never conveyed to the city.
So is in fact that entire stretch, even though it's not paved, is that still part of the unaccepted way, or is that, it's two separate wordings?
It's unconstructed, unaccepted way. Paper Street.
Right, okay.
I mean, home number 5, if the front of the house is facing that way, as it was going to be, it was expected to be completed the street.
Yeah, that's the front of the house that
Yes.
faces the paper street. And all of Highland was unaccepted, right?
No, I don't have the list, but it's accepted up to, I think it was about just before the curve.
It was accepted to just before the curb?
Correct.
Curve?
Sorry. Which, there's the 2 homes right after the curve, and the rest of the street to say.
Excuse me, where did you hear that that was accepted? Because if you, again, the websites could be wrong, but according to the website, it's not
Well,
an
just from that
accepted.
map that I show in the department that I've gone to.
Did we have that unaccepted view up there with the red lines and all that stuff?
Yeah, do you have that on the GIS layer?
There's some discrepancies with it I have to correct.
Oh, okay.
The colored map here shows it fairly well. Oh, there it is.
It shows the plan, doesn't mean it's accepted.
Yeah. Had it
And
been-
red means unaccepted anyway, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But had it been accepted previously, and these go back quite a ways, it would have been accepted previous to those 2 lots being built and only gone up to where the end of the pavement was at that time.
Right.
So. Everything after that is no man's land. Or woman.
So this particular request, which is to only accept a small portion near 13R, would literally be like a little tiny island of accepted city street, and everything else would be unaccepted under this proposal. That's unusual.
I guess the question I have is who owns it? Who owns that stretch?
All the searching that I have done online and so on, the properties shows the correct end, give or take a few feet to say what we see here now, but the street itself is still the city's. Going through that, it's fairly correct.
If I may, if all the streets out there are unaccepted, going back to the original subdivision, when it was one big parcel, they sold all the properties.
Correct.
What's left is the streets that stayed with the original owner who subdivided it. So until such time as 10 taxpayers sign a petition, go to city council in accordance with Title 12 of the ordinance of the municipal code, and get streets accepted, it would stay with that original owner, who was probably long perished. Now we have to go find his heirs.
But again, that's not this board's this commission's
Exactly.
responsibility.
So I think it's incumbent upon us to at least give him some direction as to where to go. I mean, maybe we can't make a decision on, on this, but he's stuck, he's in a bad spot there. I mean, you see this land, that's not a good situation to be in. So I feel like we need to come up with some direction for him to at least take a next step.
So is he to petition the city council? Is that the next step?
Is that the right approach?
A step, if you're asking me, it's a step.
Yep.
It sounds like there's multiple steps. Legal's gonna get involved, it's gonna be,
Okay.
it's not an easy process. Tara Park has sat up there since the 60s, and they still have not accepted it.
And again, without signage, there's nothing the police department can do.
No.
But if somebody's blocking access to a dwelling,
Is blocking the driveway in and out, then
Yeah.
we can address it.
But if they're parking
But
off
they're
the
manipulating the
street-
car so that you can get a car out, and it's, again, we've spoken at length, and, you know, my opinion, some of the people involved, they know how to manipulate what they can and cannot do, so.
Correct. You're speaking correctly on that. It's just somebody has somebody inside. And the problem is I had tenants who signed my a lease on the house, and they only stayed 4 months because of this problem. They ended up being, police had been called several times. They felt threatened. They had to get a restraining order on the neighbor, and they were able to break the lease legally. Now I'm searching for, with the empty house for 4 months now. And I don't want to put tenants in until something can get taken care of.
So is one possible course of action, would it be appropriate to instruct him that he needs to file a request with the city council and provide him with a copy of the appropriate chapter out of the municipal code that explains the steps?
I think it starts with a survey. That's my advice. Existing condition survey with topography and a plan profile.
Right, but then
So
what does
once
he
he
do with
gets the
that?
survey,
Right, what does he do
then
with
what's
that?
the next step? Then he files with the city council to get...
If he wants to file something before the city council, he can come to my office and ask the process there.
Okay.
Again, the only question I have is, what does a survey have to do with this now? I mean,
Typically,
I
when
believe-
the city accepts a city street, it needs to legally know exactly what it's accepting.
Okay,
Not just that area where that car's parked on the GIS. It's a plan that shows dimensions.
Yes.
And specific locations done by an engineer, so it can be found via a survey. That's what kind of plan he's suggesting.
Since it's going to be with the city, can't the city handle this, to say?
At other taxpayers' expense, I'm not sure. I suppose you could request that of the council if a plan is required, but I don't know what your chances of success would be on that.
Yes.
Okay, so it looks like what the recommendation of this board is that the land has to be surveyed, either out of pocket with you, or you can petition the city council. Lindsay, where else would he petition to get that covered?
We can't give him legal advice. I just want to say that on the record. I'm not giving legal advice.
Yeah.
I'm saying if he would like to file something with the city clerk's office, we will be more than happy to help him show him what he needs to file before us. But we cannot give legal advice. He's a private citizen.
Okay.
Sorry, I have to be clear.
Could we recommend that he get legal advice?
We're not supposed to, as a city, we're not supposed to recommend.
The city's not giving him legal advice. To have him get private counsel.
That's advice.
We asked the question, if you have seek legal advice.
I mean, this is so, just in general, this wasn't the correct department to come to or to speak with.
Right, I'm wondering if the correct motion here is for us to receive this and place it on file and recommend that the applicant contact the city clerk's office for advice on how to file a petition with the city council relative to acceptance of the roadway.
Second?
So there's a motion to place the matter on file?
Yes,
And is that informal advice, or are you putting that in a motion?
it was a motion for
That second
discussion.
part? Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure.
Okay, so there's a motion made, it was second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that's where we landed here. Good luck, and, I'm sure we'll be in touch at some point down the road.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Do we need to make a copy of that?
Oh, yes,
Ms. Higgins?
I need to make a copy of that for the record. May I have a moment?
I could do it, Lindsay.
Brief recess for the clerk to go make copies.
Can we make a motion for 5-minute recess?
Motion for a 5-minute recess?
Second.
Approved.
Indicates what, Matt?
Yeah.
That's accepted.
All right, a 5-minute break is,
Need to,
happened a
motion
little-
to return to the regular order of business?
okay.
Motion to return to the regular order of business?
Second.
Second.
All in favor? You gonna say all in favor?
All in favor?
Thank you. Next item on the agenda we have under new business is the request for signage for hearing impaired and legally blind child near 3 Larch Road. Lock Road, I don't know how to pronounce that. I believe the petitioner is here, right?
Oh, yeah.
Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Just state your name and address, please, and
Sure.
then
Callie Calkins, 3 Larch Road.
you want to present your argument?
Yep, my daughter is 3 years old. She's legally blind and hearing impaired. Our neighborhood is Mayflower Road. Larch is the short little road in between. There's often cut-throughs of traffic from Lexington Street and Cambridge Road. So just as an abundance of caution for her, we'd just like to see some signage up.
I live in that neighborhood, so I can attest to the fact that it is a huge cut-through. And now that we have the Primrose School on Lexington Street, the old Sons of Italy,
Yep.
that's creating a problem, people cutting through our neighborhood. And now with the other one going in across the street, in the old church on Cambridge Road,
Yep.
it's just gonna get worse. So, you know, I think it'd be a great idea to put the sign up for, you know,
Okay.
if we're able to do it.
Normally, anything like that, we would request that the applicant or ourselves, we can do it, go through the handicap commission and get their recommendations.
Okay.
Have you met with them at all?
I have not.
Then I would make that a recommendation that we seek their recommendation before we move forward. And looking at the GIS, I see the horrible red line.
Yeah, so I thought this was a simple, reasonable suggestion. And I was going to ask you what signage options we might have under MUTCD as the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. And they prescribe all of the signage that you should put up and not put up anything other than what's in that book. So I was going to ask you as to what signage might be appropriate to address this situation. But even if you answered me, this is a situation just like Highland Ave. The red line says it's not an accepted city street.
If I could, I think the difference here, though, is it's, no parking is something he wants us to enforce legally. This is just a sign to alert people to your daughter's condition in the area, so I think there's a difference
That's a
there.
great distinguisher.
Yeah,
I don't,
so-
I'm not even sure if it's in the traffic code, that these types of signs either.
The Uniform Traffic Code shows signs for disability, which are yellow reflectivity caution signs. So there are 2 that we could do,
Okay.
one for hearing impaired, one for sight impaired. There's probably one that combines them. We'll see what's available.
Sure.
But again, I think that we should get recommendation of handicap commission before we move forward.
So would we lay this on the table to the next meeting of the Traffic Commission in the hope that she can approach them in the intervening month?
I would be happy to make a motion to approve, subject to handicap commission backing.
I can't recall if this is in the traffic code, if it needs 2 readings, the order, so I probably need an exact location too. I have to double check, I don't know that off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
there's too many variables.
Yeah.
Okay. I-
If you
I
can send a
withdraw.
recommendation to the handicap commission though.
I make a recommendation as a motion that we seek guidance from the handicap commission relative to hearing and sight impaired warning signs in this neighborhood.
Second. Could I add to that?
Go ahead.
Through the chair? In the interim, at least I will take a look and see for the right location. I don't know if engineering and police want to do the same, but
Excellent idea.
we'll take a look and see where the best spot
Perfect.
is.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Could anything be done temporarily or no?
Probably not,
No, I just
Probably not.
curious thought, yeah.
we need to get through the
I think
winter.
the clerk just looked through you.
Okay, so we had a motion to defer it to the handicap commission and then bring it back at the next meeting.
Motion to seek guidance from for the hearing and citing for the, to Commission on Disability, excuse me, and to lay this matter on the table.
Yeah. Do we have a second?
Second?
There was one.
All
Oh,
all in favor?
thank you.
Aye.
Approved.
To be clear,
Okay.
what do I need to do?
I will, we will, my office will be sending a communication to the Commission on Disability.
Okay.
They may reach out to you once we do that.
Okay.
And this motion, and then your matter has also been laid on the table, so it'll be on the next agenda for this, for the Traffic Commission in March.
Okay, so I come back in March, or no?
Yes.
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 Okay.
We'll be contacting you again. You can contact my office too for more information.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other matters that this committee needs to
There are no
discuss?
other matters on the agenda.
Okay. I believe we've completed our agenda for this evening. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Officially adjourned.